Now, following up from the video you guys watched, we're going to be discussing about my honest opinion on Magoi. Is the game good? Is the game bad? Was it good? Was it bad? etc. Before we actually get into this, straight off the bat, I will say the game is actually pretty interesting. The game does have potential, but that's honestly about it. It has potential. Potential can go both ways. Either you meet that potential and exceed expectations, or you end up not meeting that expectation or not meeting that potential, and you end up becoming potential man. And nobody likes a potential man because the potential is never met. Now, again, before we get into this, if you are a developer for Magoi watching, I do want to say keep up the great work. However, take this video and don't take what I'm going to say into offense, but hopefully this helps improve the game for the future and things of that nature. Now, for the Magoi playtest, I'm pretty sure we were only given a certain half of the game. I'm very sure this wasn't the full game, because in videos like Slykages' old Magoi video, there are areas in that video, even in like the snippets, like the beginning where he's showcasing like the rest of the game. I'll play it in the background where he's showcasing different aspects of the game. Those weren't actually in the game that I played. Those areas, regions, etc, none of that was in the actual playtest that I played. So I'm not too sure if these areas were not like implemented into the playtest, or maybe these are late game areas that just were closed off for the playtest. Again, I'm not too sure. There was a lot of things that I saw from Slykages' videos that just weren't in the game. Just wasn't. So I don't know, maybe someone can specify that for me in the DMs, what exactly that playtest consisted of, because I'm very sure a lot of those features that I've seen in the other videos that Slykages has made were not in this playtest. Anyways, we're gonna go over the good and the bad things, and when I go over the bad things, I'm gonna mix bad with improvements and then yeah, let's get. Now, we're gonna start off small here in terms of the bad things, and it's not the biggest, it's actually very small. Quite literally, the UI is really small. Like, it's really small. Like, I don't know, maybe there should be a scaler, or maybe just improve how large the UI is. But I mean, every aspect of the UI is just really small, and it doesn't really help the gameplay. It's actually kind of annoying. Even the UI, when you get your inventory open and you can see your stats on the side, it's really small. When you're picking up chests, the items, the UI to transfer the item over to your loadout or your chest or whatever, or your backpack inventory, it's really small. When you're at the shopkeepers, you're talking to the shopkeepers, again, it's super small, and you can actually buy the wrong items like this. I know Sage bought the wrong armor because he didn't actually see that it was female armor until after he bought it, because the UI is really small. You just kind of miss a lot of important text and just things in general because the UI is super small. Now, obviously, I know why the UI is small, because you don't want large UI cluttering up the screen, but this is just a little bit too small. And where there's important information, you don't want to miss it because the UI is too small. Like text, dialogue boxes, everything is just super small, and it's very easy to not notice something because of it. It actually ruins the gameplay experience in my opinion. Now, this one's a nitpick as well. I do think there needs to be some sort of compass to the game, whether it's built into the UI or it ends up being its own type of item or something you can actually like use. That would be nice. Now, the compass, it doesn't need to be detailed. It just needs to show us north, south, east and west. Honestly, it would be nice to have that in the game, because I do know when when mobs do spawn, it does have like the compass thing that shows up for like 2 seconds. That's really short, by the way. It's like 2 seconds literally, and then disappears. I think we should have some sort of permanent compass that we can keep with us. That's a very small gameplay feature, and it's not really that significant. Going back to the UI again, the dialogue boxes just a bit too small, and when you're talking to NPCs, when there's not actually a button to press, it will like close the dialogue box, so you don't really get to see the last part of whatever that NPC is saying. because there's no option to continue the text. It just disappears. It goes away abruptly too. So I'm not gonna lie, that is really annoying because you never really get to see what the NPC is saying. Not that the NPCs are ever saying anything important, but still, it would be nice to not close my dialogue box before I'm ready for it to close. The vast, pointless world. I'm not gonna lie. Again, the only part of the game we were able to really see or explore, or even that was in the game at the current moment of time, was the desert. And I know there's more to the game because I've seen more to the game in other videos. However, the desert was empty. It was empty. It was boring. There's literally nothing to the open world. In the overworld, if you don't count the NPC spawns, there's literally only trinkets in certain locations, and I don't think that's worth running around for. It's just really, it's big. The open world is big, the desert is big, but there's nothing to actually explore or discover. Me and Sage ran around the map for literally hours, and we found so many places where you would expect there to be maybe some sort of cool mob or like a little mini boss or like an area that would have a cool type of NPC or something, but there was just nothing. I mean, there was even an area where like the gate was broken, and then you go inside and there's like a little stone area, and then there's a gate, and then a fence in front of it, and the fence is broken, and there's a gate. It reveals itself, but you can't go in there. You can't go inside there. I would think it would be some sort of underground dune or underground sewage place where there's cool monsters and maybe like scorpions or something. You can't go in there. It looks like a cool area that would be able to be explored, and then you go inside and realize it's just here for the sake of being here. It's like aesthetics, pointless aesthetics. It's meaningless. There was nothing. It was just, even the prison, that was another place we ended up finding through exploring. Other than the 4 guards there that deal half of your health with 1 M1, there's nothing there. It's pointless. Like, I ran around, I even saw like a place that in RPG games you would mine. You can't even mine those crystals. They're just there for the aesthetics, and it's just completely pointless. Like, it's genuinely disappointing because this game looks amazing. I honestly was super excited to play the game. I'm like, yo, like, this is giving me Rogue Lineage Deep Woken vibes, but it's Magi. Like, this is gonna be lit. And then you actually go into the open world and discover there's no depth. I would even say there's no depth. There's just nothing to it, and that's super upsetting. I even there was like a place where there's a bunch of like I don't know if I would call it crossroads, but like sand bridges, and there's tunnels, and you can go through the tunnels and stuff. You expect it to be like ant mobs you can fight there or something. No, there was nothing. There's not even an item or cool chest to be found, or it's just there for the aesthetics. Like, what's the point of all these weird, cool looking areas in the map if there's no reason to be there? Like, no secret hidden NPC trainer, there's nothing. The open world has nothing, and I can't stress that enough of how disappointing that is. Even Jujutsu Infinite's open world has more to it than Magoi's, and that's disappointing because Jujutsu Infinite is terrible. It's not terrible, but it's not good either. So yeah, man, that was really disappointing. Running around for hours exploring the map, and there's just nothing to be discovered. There's no point of actually exploring. Literally no point. The NPCs. So I know I mentioned running around and honestly finding nothing, but occasionally NPCs will spawn. It's kind of like Deep Woken, how like an event will spawn and like an NPCs will appear and you fight them, and after you fight them in Magoi, just like Deep Woken, there's a chest that spawns, and that chest will give you usually 2 items. There'll be 2 items in the chest, and you transfer those items into your inventory or whatever the case may be. However, the NPCs in this game kind of suck. The hitboxes, the tracking, they have like hit prio when they do critical attacks. It's really, hit prio, I should say hyper armor. I don't even know if it dealt damage, so I wouldn't say super armor. I'll say hyper armor. Whenever NPCs NPCs do crit attack. The hitboxes, it's just a mess. I'm not gonna lie, it's really bad. It's really bad. Again, there's room for improvement and there's a lot of potential, but it's really bad. I don't think NPCs even spawn frequently enough, if we're being serious. NPCs do not spawn frequently enough. And then when you do find the NPCs, they're just overtuned. Like, especially everyone's a beginner. Why is the first open world area in the game have overtuned NPCs? the NPCs should not be that overtuned in the first area. Maybe the second area, you get out the desert and you start seeing like the other lands and the other regions and the other open worlds. That's where the game gradually starts having harder NPCs. But if right off the bat, the NPCs you're fighting are, first of all, you have to usually fight 4 of them at a time. If you aggro 1 of them at a time, you might be able to manage. But again, they have armor, they have a weapon, and they deal a lot of damage. Especially if you're a beginner, you haven't even leveled up yet. So again, just super overtuned. The NPCs, fighting them is not even nice. If fighting them was like nice, where it's like, okay, you can actually just do this solo, it's fine. Like as a power 1, you could take on a Sharko if you were good enough. You have a chance, right? But in this, you don't really have a chance because you get grouped up on and are overtuned and you have nothing. And then the hitboxes and the tracking and it's just a mess. I'm so sorry, it's just a mess. And it's not even worth grinding. And that's why I didn't take part in the tournament on the second day, because it's just like it's just kind of irritating. There's no point struggling to fight these NPCs to get really mediocre gear. It just wasn't worth it. I'm so sorry, it just wasn't worth it. There was a big lack of quests. There was actually only one actual quest that I discovered, and it was helping some old man find a kid, and that kid was unfindable. I don't think he was actually you couldn't complete that quest in the test. I'm very sure. Maybe me and Sage didn't find an area that the kid was hidden in, but that kid was nowhere to be found. And I feel like I traversed the whole of that sand open area, literally. I won't lie to you, I'm not too sure what's going on with that. The lack of quests and an RPG is a little bit upsetting. The clothing and the armors. Now, I really feel like there should be more clothing / armors. I'm just gonna refer it to armors now. When I say clothing, it means armor. There's no armors. There is an NPC inside the village that gives you clothes or armor, the female and the male armor, and that's about it. The rest of the pieces of clothing you get is from defeating mobs and opening chests and things of that nature, which is cool, but there should definitely be more base armor that you're able to buy. That would make sense. And a bunch of there should be a variety of different armor for your playstyle. Like if you're a mage, there's no way to actually buy like cool mage gear. There's if you have a dagger, there should be some sort of like thief's outfit, and all of these should affect stats in some way, shape or form. Maybe make your movement speed or faster, or your M1 speed faster, and things of that nature. Like the game doesn't actually have much to it in terms of like clothing and armor. Obviously I'm not speaking about the armor you get from chests, speaking about things that are purchased. Weapon variety, again, this is probably just because I was in the beginner zone, but from what I saw, there wasn't weapon variety. The magician hitboxes with the staff weapon, it was way too small. Now it looks like it wouldn't be small because it has like the Magoi magic butterfly effect things. I don't even know what it's called, I forgot. But I think it has less range than like the bow staff the weapon Sage has. I think it has less range, if not the same amount of range as that weapon, and that just doesn't really make sense because it's super deceiving. The hitboxes for the mage staff is super deceiving. The only good thing about it is the crit, the air and the ground crit, but even then can't spam critical strikes every 2 seconds. That's pretty boring. So the M1s are I don't really like them too much. You got to get too close, got to get way too close, and in my opinion that's a little bit weird. A mage shouldn't really have to get close to initiate combat. It just doesn't suit a mage's playstyle, and in my opinion, super inconsistent. And also, this is going to be my last one about leveling up. Now, when you level up, you get a choice of 3 things: speed, defense, and strength. Now, I didn't see what was inside the speed and defense categories, but when you click on the strength category, you get damage versus monsters. I think it was critical strike, and you get something for increasing your ability damage. So abilities deal more damage. And I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty bad. Now, the reason why I say it's pretty bad is because, again, I'm gonna speak for mages here, because that's what I was during this playtest. Now, if you're a mage, you're in a really bad position because you don't actually have any abilities at the start of the game, so wasting your points in abilities would be pretty stupid because you're not dealing ability damage with your M1s. It's just normal damage to monsters with your M1s, right? So putting your points in ability would be pretty bad because I'm very sure those points don't scale with your critical strike and your M1, and you don't have any abilities. But you would be confused on what to do or where to put your points, because some people, especially if the game was publicly released, would probably put the points into the magic part, not knowing that the base M1 damage wouldn't actually, like, it wouldn't scale because they put the points in the ability thing, but they don't actually have any abilities. So they're thinking they're getting stronger when in reality they're actually making themselves super stagnant. And from what I've seen, there isn't even any major abilities as well, so it's kind of silly, it's kind of stupid. And then you have critical strike. I don't even think that's worth in this game. There's nothing to even indicate if you're doing crit damage in this game, so it's just kind of, it's a stupid stat page in my opinion, because there's no way to know how you're scaling your critical strike, because there's nothing that identifies you crit striking, you using a crit, or you actually critting. So when I say crit, I don't mean like block break, I mean actually like if you're M1ing something, if you have a crit, it'll deal like bonus damage. There's nothing to indicate that bonus damage in this game, so putting your point there would be also stupid because you're not too sure how your character would be scaling in terms of damage. And then you have the obvious choice, which is damage versus monsters, but this is a really vague stat. Obviously this game's primarily PvE, right? So eventually putting enough points into there, you'll be strong enough to essentially deal a lot of damage at once to an NPC, but it's just too vague, it's too broad. Damage versus monsters is really stupid. This is an RPG and you need your individual stats to make sense, whether it's strength, dexterity, or actual magic damage. We need to know where our points and how it's affecting our characters accurately. It's way too vague. It's too vague. It's way too vague, and I don't think that's gonna be a good system going forward in the long term. It's actually really bad. I really don't like that system of leveling up and putting your point into one of those attributes. It feels really weird, and God knows what the speed and the defense stat had. I'm very sure the speed stat would have been stupid, would have been so dumb, and the defense stat would have probably just been more health, but I'm not too sure what the other 2 doors would have been as well. So again, I'm not gonna lie to you, I think the way in which you level up needs like a tweak or a revision, because it doesn't really suit long-term gameplay. And then yeah, I feel like I've rambled quite a bit here. Hopefully the developers, again, don't take offense to it and just kind of see where I'm coming from in that aspect, because the progression didn't feel rewarding. Even when you did kill the mobs and get the chest and got the armor, there was no real way to see how your character was getting stronger or scaling, and the whole point of an RPG is to be able to feel like you're getting stronger, but I felt the same throughout the whole gameplay. So yeah, man, it's super unsatisfying and it's pretty underwhelming. However, it doesn't feel like it should be because the game looks really good. It's just there wasn't anything to show character progression. That's super important. Anyways, I think I've rambled on for way too long now. Hopefully you guys aren't put off. Overall, I think Magoi isn't a bad game. The game has a lot of potential. The developers just need to nail it. They actually need to nail it. The game has a great core foundation. I do like the direction that where the game could go in, but it's all up to the developers now, because the game's not perfect. Of course, no game is perfect, but the flaws in this game are definitely flaws that would turn people off from playing the game, in my opinion. But the game is interesting enough to draw people's attention in. So again, I think some things need to be polished up and the game will be honestly ready to go. Anyways, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one.